I've had this video in me brewing in my awareness for a couple days now, and further inspiration to make it came from a text post I recently did talking about this, and then actually I felt like a lot of people resonated with that post, and it's something I had a really profound awareness around yesterday in my alone time, my one-on-one time with my soul, which I definitely carve out space for in my day, most often in my mornings. And the reason I'm calling this pop culture spirituality is because, you know, pop culture catches on to things, and once it catches on to things, it becomes pop culture. And I feel like pop culture tends to focus on exciting things, things that are fun, that are alive. And that's wonderful. That's great. And there is also this way of ignoring the rest of life. Maybe the things that aren't so easy to deal with on an emotional or energetic level. And so even a few years back, I noticed like an like an Amazon ad that was talking about manifestation. It was an ad that was like on an Alexa, and it was talking about like manifesting your best summer, something like that. So that's really cool. I'm so happy that people are getting these new awarenesses around manifestation and creation and creating our reality. Like this is all wonderful. And with that, there is also a focus on just simply, what I want, and I want it now. And so just give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. And I understand that it's wonderful to have fun experiences. It's wonderful to have fun experiences. It's wonderful to have pleasant and enjoyable experiences. And here's the part that I feel is missing. Because yes, it's good to be clear about what we desire from a soul level, like what would really be nice to experience, just because the experiencing of it would be great. It would be nice. It would be wonderful. So when we get clear on what those things are from a soul level, maybe it is a really loving, balanced, fair romantic partnership. Maybe it's traveling the world. Maybe it's living in that cottage near the beach. I imagine those exist. Whatever it is, whatever feels resonant on a soul level, I feel that there is a reason why that's there. And it's good to be clear about that. And it's good to put it out there. It's good to, I feel, speak it into existence, as they say. And here's the part that I feel is often missed and pop culture spirituality. And it's the journey of becoming. And it's the recognition of versions, that there are different versions of an individual. In this case, I'll use me. And I'm sharing everything from my own experience, how things have worked for me, things I've seen in the light of my own path. And so I'm sharing again on what makes sense to me, what resonates in my own beingness, what resonates with my own soul at this time. And so it's up to you to determine if what I'm sharing is resonant for you. And whether it is or not, again, that's completely up to you. I'm just, I wanted to share that these are my experiences. These are how I interpret my experiences with reality, what feels resonant to me, what does not feel resonant to me. So I just want to put that out there. I'm never telling anyone, what to do. I'm simply sharing how things land for me, what makes sense to me, what resonates for me, and how I'm currently experiencing reality as of this right now. So I just wanted to add that in there. So back to the journey of becoming. That's the part that I feel is often missed. And again, I'll use my own experience. And the reason why I bring this up, because it's to me, it's a crucial part of manifestation. It's a crucial part of creating reality, which is the journey of becoming. So, for instance, I'll use myself as an example. many years ago. I think it was back in, I want to say 2017. In 2017, I entered my first scene study class in Los Angeles, and it was for acting. So, of course, you had to go up in front of other people and you had to act. You had to use a script and give a performance. And in that first class, when it was my turn to go up there and perform and act with a scene partner, I completely froze. I was so caught up, like my ego was so caught up in getting it right and wanting to do a good job and what other people might think of me, that I completely froze. And my scene partner just sat there saying kind of like the same line over and over. And like, because my whole system froze, I could not utter the line. I could not speak anything. I was completely frozen. So that version of me is not the version of me that has experienced all these other things. That is the very afraid version, and there's nothing wrong with him. He just has a lot of doubts, a lot of insecurities. And, again, that's not wrong. It's just that those doubts and insecurities are causing him to freeze up. They're not allowing him to be the version that can go up there and play and have fun, explore, let the moment inform the scene, let things happen by surprise, really be in the moment, really listen, really be curious about what the scene partner is doing, and listening to their cues and their tones and the words behind the words, the energy behind the words, all of that. That all came, I became that version who could do that, who could go up there and be in the moment, be present, really listen, learn how to use the words on the page and make them my own in the moment, infuse them with the real life energy, the real life experiences that I have from my own human journey, and infuse those into the lines and make them believable, make them alive in the moment. That all came by me going back to class and getting up there again and again and again, and and studying things in my off time and my downtime outside of class, going to improv. So over the course of the years, like, again, I think this first class was probably like 2017. Many years later, in 2020, I was at that same school still for acting. And I remember there was this current class I was in, and we got a new class member. And so it was brand new to the group, had never seen this person before. And I was so comfortable with acting by then that I went up there and I gave a performance, with another scene partner. And at the end, one of my friends that I had made in the class, you know, because at the end of the class, there was like opportunity for feedback. And I'm pretty sure what one of my friends said in the class was like, I just felt like a fly on the wall. Like it felt like this scene was real life. This was really happening. And I just felt like a fly on the wall, like watching a real life scenario play out. So that's a really nice compliment to, both me and my scene partner at the time, because, we have both had our own journeys about becoming that version that could go up there and be believable, and us ourselves be so in the moment, so invested in the relationship and being in the moment and be with each other and play off of each other. And we had learned our lines by that point. So we were off book, as they say. We didn't have a script in our hand. We were just walking around freely. The lines were already in here, and we were giving a real performance, almost like, a play on stage. And so to get that feedback that, I just felt like a fly on the wall, that's really, really nice. And then that new person in the class, like he actually came up to me and he said, I hope one day I can be as good of an actor as you. And I was just like, wow, you know, and this person seemed like they might be like, 20, 21, something like that. And at that time, I think I was more like, yeah, at that time I would have been more like want to say 35-ish. So so that was a really big compliment to get as well. And the point was is that I had been on a journey of becoming. So that those experiences that manifested for me, because every scene in my life is a manifested scene in my own actor's journey of life. I'm talking about being this character that's in front of you right now. That's, my consciousness, has created this body. My consciousness as a soul has created this body to have a human journey. And so my human journey is very much like an acting journey because it's like, what do I want to explore? Who do I want to be? What are the experiences that I want to have? So the human journey is very much like an actor's journey in a lot of ways. And I had gone on this journey of becoming. So these experiences that manifested this wonderful feedback. And it was really wonderful because when I started scene study, like I had this desire that I just want to be known for my work. I want to be someone that other people say, like, wow, he does really great work in his scenes, like his acting is incredible, his acting is wonderful. So to start from that person, I'm just gonna say that one more time. That was a desire of mine. I wanted to be someone that got that kind of feedback that, wow, he's a great actor. He does really good, work, so to say, in his scenes. And so I had gone on a journey of becoming from the person that was frozen, completely frozen, and my scene partner could not get one line from me. The teacher actually had to, in that first class, had to barge in and be like, say something, until I finally spit a line out, uh, which took some relaxing of my nervous system. I can laugh about it now, even though I was completely like in the moment in that first class. So I'd gone on a journey of becoming, and I became the person that was able to get that feedback. I had become and express a new version of me. And so I had to face a lot of things. Here's, like segue into part two of all this. I had to face a lot of things. I had to release a lot of things to become that version that could get that kind of feedback. And so it was fears of being seen, all eyes on me. It was the fear of remembering my lines, getting my lines right. And like this fear of like, oh, if I mess up a line, like, I'm a screw up and all that, those fears, those insecurities that are not true, but the mind has been so conditioned throughout life to like always get it right that now these become fears of so-called getting it wrong. And so I had to face all those things. I had to face just fears about expressing certain emotions in a scene. I had to face fears of being vulnerable in a scene. I remember a few years into this journey, there was the first scene where I let someone in so deeply. It was like a breakup scene. Again, this is a scene, so it's not like real life in a way. It's a scene we're acting. However, the scene was a breakup scene. And I allowed myself to become so vulnerable in that scene that I actually like shed a tear. Again, this is a fake breakup scene. However, I was so in it. I was so in it with my scene partner. And I was believing it in the moment that when they were like, like I'm leaving, like I shed a tear. And I remember after that class, the teacher said to me, like, wow, this is really huge for you. Like, you really let someone in that deeply in a scene. Because to me, it is a much different journey between real life and a scene. Because in real life, there's all of this actual valid history as to why these emotions are there. Whereas in a scene, it's just like something that's happening for 10 minutes. So to be that invested on a circumstance that doesn't have all this history, it's like made up history. And to be able to let someone in that deeply and really feel, that emotion that was tied to a breakup at that time, like that was really big for me. And the teacher recognized it afterwards. They're like, this is really huge. Like you let someone in that deeply in a scene and showed all of us so deeply inside of you. So I had to face a lot of things. I had to release a lot of things in order to become this version that could get that feedback, the feedback that I much, so very much wanted at the beginning of my journey. And when it manifested, it just felt so good because I was like, oh, wow, like I'm in this place where now I'm getting this kind of feedback. And so the reason I bring up the releasing, the letting go is because what I found for me in my experience is that this is a huge part of manifestation. To me, there's a reason why our human, at least for me, and it may resonate, it may not, but at least for me, there's a reason why my awareness is set on these points of becoming. I want to experience that. I want to see what that would be like. That kind of experience speaks to me. And they always kind of seem like out there, or they seem like something that's going to require a journey. And then oftentimes they do require a journey of becoming. There's a reason why my sights are set there because it invites me to go on that journey of becoming. And that journey of becoming often looks like a lot of letting go, a lot of letting go of things that hold me down, weigh me down emotionally, so to say. And so oftentimes this is referred to as shadow work, looking at the things that aren't in alignment with the version who is having these experiences that seem like kind of out there or kind of seem like a mountaintop destination type thing. And so again, I already gave examples before, like I had to let go of the fear of being seen. I had to let go of the fear of all these people watching me center stage. I had to let go of the fear of forgetting my lines. These are all things I had to move through, one at a time. And oftentimes it was layer by layer of the same fear. And that's the part that I feel that gets skipped over a lot in pop culture spirituality is that it's like just put it out there and it's just automatically going to happen. And in some cases it actually may. And sometimes there could be times where something does just happen and all of a sudden the journey of becoming is sped up really fast. Like all of the experiences that lead to having this manifestation occur may actually speed up. Sometimes things can come really fast. And then it's about what does that journey look like? How are we able to meet ourselves when things pick up really quickly? There are all these stories of people, musicians, actors who quote unquote have like overnight success. And I've heard a lot of these stories because I've studied a lot of the journeys of actors and musicians and things like that. And I remember one that was saying, it was like, like they had this experience of going from like being an unknown to very much known, very much celebrated, very much in demand. And then kind of all having that all kind of like quiet down and kind of like simmer down to a pulse. So they kind of went from being, as I recall, was like being an unknown, all of a sudden having all this attention, being in the spotlight, seeing what it's like to have all these people knocking on their door, so to say, with opportunities, learning how to, very quickly be able to decipher some of these opportunities, learn by taking some of the opportunities and then realizing it really wasn't the best idea to take this opportunity. Like all of a sudden, all these doors were open to have all these experiences, and then things kind of quieted down. And so it's not to say that things can't happen fast, but that's still sometimes the journey of becoming might actually be really sped up because the thing that has been asked for might come very quickly. And with it, there might be all kinds of experiences to again prepare someone, to prepare this, this actor in this case, to prepare me or to prepare anyone to be that version that is able to have more of these experiences. And so to me, none of it is wrong. It's all experience, and life experience, I feel, is the greatest teacher. But I'm sure in this actor's case, I'm sure there was a lot of things they had to look at. How do I discern between projects? How do I handle all of this attention? Um, Maybe they felt certain pressures and they had to learn how to be true to themselves with all of these outside pressures, so to say, coming in like, what about this? We think you should do this, you'd be great for that. And I do remember based on this story, I do remember them talking about certain pressures where they had to be like, no, that's really not me. You know, Everyone else would say this is a big deal and it's really great and blah, 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 and you should do it for all these reasons. But I remember them saying, like, but that's not me, that's not me. And so this is the part that I wish was addressed more often, is the journey of becoming and the learning more about self, the recognition of the fears, the insecurities, the doubts, the lack of self-worth, any number of things that can cause someone to not be true to themselves in essence, or to say yes to something that they really would rather say no to, or to give into like things like people pleasing and pretending to be someone they're not, all these different things. Like, this is the part that I don't feel is really talked about enough. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because the journey of becoming can be quite intense at times. I have faced many, many fears at this point, and in my experience, my soul is still inviting me, through manifested life experiences. My soul is still inviting me to address certain fears because they're just, and at this point, they're in the way of who I desire to become. And again, it doesn't make them bad, it doesn't make them wrong. It just doesn't make them compatible with who it is that I say I prefer to be. And so that's why it's just looking at the incompatibility of them without shame, without guilt, without self-condemnation, without putting self down, just looking at these shadow frequencies, if you will, with compassion, with love, saying, I know, I'll speak in first person. The way I would look at it is, I know you're trying to protect me. I know you're trying to keep me safe. You think it's better to be small. You think it's better to be invisible. You think it's better to be on the sidelines, whatever. And to see that with compassion and love and be like, and that's just not compatible with who I say I prefer to be. And so I'm going to work on loving these patterns as I also release them. And as I release these patterns, to me, what happens is they're able to reintegrate. They're able to go from a shadow frequency, which is kind of like something that's been shunned and locked in the basement and told, like, you're no good, you don't belong here. So, for instance, that could be shame about the fact that there's a fear of being seen, having shame about, like, oh, I'm afraid to be seen. So it's like releasing the shame, like realizing that doesn't really serve, that's not really helping anything, and not feeling shame about feeling the shame either. Just saying, okay, for me, I don't really need to have shame about this. There's just a fear about being seen. And just looking at it, with compassion and love. Oh, you're trying to protect me. Oh, you're trying to keep me safe. Oh, you don't believe it's safe to be seen. And one of the ways that is really helpful for me to see through the illusion of these frequencies is to look for evidence that shows me that they're just a fear-based frequency, or a frequency of lack, or something like that. For instance, there's all these people that are being seen, like I can look out into my experience, of everyday life, and I can find all kinds of people that are being seen and, having a great time being seen, sharing their truth, sharing their light, sharing their gifts. And, it's like every time I watch them, I have a good experience. In the comments, I see other people having good experiences. And so, when I look for evidence that essentially disproves the fear or the shadow frequency, that helps me loosen the grip of a shadow frequency. That's one of the things that helps me, is to look for evidence that disproves this fear, that disproves this shadow frequency. And so then I can love the shadow frequency even more. In this case, let's call it a fear of being seen. I can love it even more and be like, oh, I see you're trying to keep me safe. And and I can also let this perspective go. Like, I see plenty of people that are shining, plenty of people that are having fun shining, that are having meaningful connections, creating meaningful connections as they shine. So I can let this go. Like, I can let this go And I don't need to let this frequency drive my life. I don't need to let this frequency hold me back and keep me from expressing all the things that I want to express. And that is the journey of becoming. It's becoming the version of me that can have those experiences that I desire to manifest, because now I'm the version that matches those experiences, that can welcome those experiences, that isn't pushing those experiences out with a fear of being seen. Because a big thing that these frequencies do is they kind of like they hold life out in a way, is what I found. They hold experiences in life out because they're like, no, this isn't welcome here. No, not for me. No, I'm not ready. And so they hold a lot of experiences out. And again, there's nothing wrong with that in my experience. It's just that, is that where I want to be living from? Do I want to be living from the energy that says, on one level, I want it. On another level, like, no, don't give it to me. No, not me. No, I can't handle it. So it's kind of seeing that mixed energy, that those opposing forces, the soul being like, that would be wonderful. And then the mind or the personality being like, but no, I can't have it. It's very like opposing energy. So as I let go of the no, I can't have it, or no, I'm not ready, or, I'm afraid to be seen, it's like more of those experiences have space, they have room to come in, because now it's not an opposing energy. Now it's on a soul level that would be nice, and then there's space for it. There's no more, it would be nice, and no, no, stay away. Once the no, stay away is gone, there's space for things to land. There's space for things to land. And that's what I've found. That's what I continue to find for me in my own experience. And so, though pop culture spirituality is really nice, it's really fun to learn about manifestations and affirmations and all these things, keeping a positive attitude, which are all helpful. And, all like I've used all of those. They're very helpful, very important. I just don't feel from my personal lived experience that it's helpful to pretend all the other things don't exist, to pretend the shadow frequencies, the fears, the lack of self-worth, to pretend these things don't exist. It's when I started to be honest with myself about those things and address those things that I became more of the version that could let more of the experiences that I wanted to have in. Because I had addressed the frequencies that were like, no, not me. I can't handle it. I want it on one level, but on another level, I'm trying to hold it out. Like when I looked at all of those things, that's when more of the experiences that I desired were actually able to flow in, because I had become the version that was able to receive them, the version that was able to handle them, and therefore actually enjoy them when they came in. Because if I'm still on one level trying to hold them out, like that's a version that basically says, I'm not ready. Don't pick me, I'm not ready. So if something were to land with the energy of I'm not ready, that can be intense too. That can be really intense, because now it's like it's here, but now it's like almost trying to hide from the fact that it's here. And so that isn't really, I don't really feel that's all it's meant to be. I feel like when things land, it's much better to be like, oh, it's here and I can enjoy it. I'm the version that can enjoy it. I'm the version that can be like, oh my gosh, it's here. I'm so ready for it. I love that it's here. I'm ready to play. I'm excited. Let's have fun. It feels much better to receive manifestations or life experiences in that space, if that makes sense. So that's what I really wanted to touch on in this transmission. Uh, I hope some part of it has been helpful or landed in a way that feels meaningful. Again, these are my experiences, and I love sharing what I've learned. I love sharing what I've seen. And that's really the purpose of this. It's just to share what I've seen, what I've discovered or learned about myself along the way, and just putting it out there, sharing, letting that be seen. So thank you for watching. Hope you had a good time, and maybe I will see you next time.